Welcome to the Aging Well podcast, where we explore the science, stories, and strategies behind living a longer, healthier, and more purposeful life. My guest is Dr. Shivani Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an authority in integrative medicine, blending ancient Ayurvedic wisdom with cutting-edge clinical research. With over 2 decades of study in both India and the U.S., a PhD focused on turmeric's therapeutic power, and a #1 best-selling book, she's helped shape a modern understanding of how natural solutions can support energy, brain health, mobility, and longevity. In this episode, we explore the Ayurvedic approach to aging well, from gut health and inflammation to personalized body type assessments and autoimmune support. Dr. Gupta's work has been featured on top health podcasts and stages across the country. And today, she's here to share some of that wisdom with you. Dr. Gupta, welcome to the Aging Well podcast. You have dedicated over 20 years to studying Ayurveda. What initially drew you to this ancient system of healing?
Sure. So I grew up in Texas and I grew up going to India every year of my life. And when I'd go to India, when I got sick, my grandma would take some herbs right from the kitchen, make a tea out of it, make a paste, make something out of it, some concoction or elixir, and give it to me, and I'd get all better. And when I was in the US, we'd go to the pediatrician, get a script, go get antibiotics, and I'd get better as well. So I was living in two worlds, always wondering who's right. Because here in the US, amoxicillin tastes like bubble gum and it's really fun. And when I go to India, her spices are really stinky, but they do make me feel way better. And so fast forward, once I got to 20s, age around 20 years old in college, I realized all the level of antibiotic use I had used through my childhood had damaged my gut. I went to the nurse at school and I was like, hey, can you give me an antibiotic? I'm sick. They're like, no. We can't give you anything else. Based on what you just said you just took in India, no, we can't do all that stuff to you. So basically, through heavy antibiotic use, I realized I had damaged my gut. Couldn't eat a lot of the foods I wanted to eat, couldn't have orange juice, which I loved. And I looked at my parents and I said, if we're in India and we're visiting again and we're in the land of Ayurveda and yoga, this thing called Ayurveda, I wanted to go figure out what it is because it sounds like it has the healing tools I need for my body. And I went on a quest with my parents for years in college, post college. And when I realized that Ayurveda had this wisdom and toolkit inside of it that could transform our health and give us a healthy immune system, I was sold. And so from there, I studied it. And then after that, I thought we all need to understand this. We all need to use this. And that's been my mission for the last 20 years.
And so your PhD focused specifically on turmeric. What did your research uncover that most people don't know about this root?
Sure. So I ended up doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences. My dream was, okay, you learned Ayurveda in India, but why don't you formally study this science, this medical wisdom, and understand it so you can write books about it, so you can teach about it. So I did my master's. And when I was sitting in herbology class, the teacher started to explain all the benefits of all the spices, turmeric, ginger, ashwagandha, all the adaptogens and what they could do. And I thought, wow, I'm Indian. Like you're talking about what's in my spice cabinet in my kitchen. And you're saying it can do all that? That's superfood level benefit. But then why aren't we using these superfoods like we use superfoods in the West? In the West, we're using maca powder and matcha, and we're using blueberries and salmon, and we're reaching into a lot of goji berries, chia seeds. Like we're reaching for everything that's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. And so if you're saying all the spices do that, how are we not using this toolkit that's readily available to us? And so my advisor at the time was like, you should do a PhD. And I was like, I don't have the time or interest to do a PhD. And he's like, I'm telling you, for the way you want to impact, a PhD would be great. What topic would you like to cover? And I said, well, I'm really obsessed with turmeric. I can't believe turmeric can do everything they're saying it can do. It's kind of astounding. He's like, okay, well, let's get started. If that's not the topic, we'll figure it out pretty quick, but let's see. So at that time, there were about 10,000 scientific articles and clinical trials and published papers in PubMed. Now, 10 years later, 7 to 10 years later, it's at 17,000. So the science is exponentially growing on turmeric. And what most people don't know is out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% is the curcuminoids. And of that 3% that's giving you the maximum benefit, only the one curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so I say that because a lot of people will think, oh, I can just add more turmeric to my food. We can, but it doesn't deliver the biggest result. Now, you asked what are the benefits? Turmeric has a million benefits. The favorites that I talk about are it's a very powerful natural anti-inflammatory. So it's being studied heavily because of the number of pathways it impacts from an inflammatory standpoint, and the fact that it can help with joint pain naturally, and we don't have to take a lot of big drugs and things is a pretty big deal. Then it's a very powerful antioxidant, and it reverses oxidation in the system. So when we talk about aging and rusting in the system, turmeric, in my opinion, is one of those primary ways we can support antioxidant benefits into the system. Then it's antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. That's where turmeric had me sold because I needed an immune system that works. So now I use it as my guard in the world just to keep healthy and never get sick. Then it's also very gut supportive. So turmeric really functions like this ultimate janitor. It comes into your body, cleans everything out that doesn't belong there, and leaves what's good inside. Antibiotics don't do that. Antibiotics will kill everything off. So I needed to find a new solution that would help me, defend me, but also support me in the long run when it came to gut health. So turmeric is supportive of the gut microbiome, helps with rebuilding the gut lining, clears out any cells that need to be cleared out, causes autophagy, causes cell death, apoptosis. It's a very powerful tool also for liver. It's a hepatosupportive. It's also very good for anti-aging. So I'm trying to think through my PowerPoints. I have a lot of PowerPoints I present from on this topic. So it impacts our sirtuins, our telomeres, and a lot of the anti-aging pieces as well. So I love that it's anti-inflammatory. We know that's important. Most of us are suffering from inflammation. I love that it's antioxidant. We're all, not all, but most of us are worried about aging and aging well and aging in a healthy way, which is what your podcast is about. And then that third piece of gut supportive, immune supportive is really important to me as well. And then finally, longevity. We talk so much about longevity and living for a long time. I actually don't need to live till 100 or past a certain number, but I do care about that quality of life. And so the fact that it's so supportive to all the aging markers in the body that can be slowing us down, to me makes it the best superfood that exists.
So I'm not doing a bad thing by putting it in my coffee in the morning.
No, not at all. Any amount you take is good. I think it's so important to take some. When I finished my PhD, I was like, well, why is no one using this in orthopedics, in rheumatology, in all of medicine? Like, if it's such a good anti-inflammatory. And what I realized is the supplement world is not really trusted, which happens, right? That we know that supplements can be, they're not regulated. Supplements sometimes are made just to be sold on the shelf. They're just marketed well. And so I went out and built my own supplement line because my dream was, can I convince all of Western medicine to use a supplement in their offices? And so now thousands of people take it by opening it in their coffee and doing things like what you're saying, using it in their food as well.
Yeah, I just have a bag of powder of it, and I just kind of put a relatively big scoop, probably too much because it settles down in the bottom, and
Yeah.
I got to be careful what I touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It stained my my coffee cup a little bit yellow, but
Sure.
it
Just make
doesn't
sure.
stain clothing. So
Yeah, I mean, you can wash it out of your clothes.
yeah,
Just make sure you use black pepper or a healthy fat. We know that black pepper increases the absorption by 2,000%. I worked in the lab in Houston where the scientists discovered that when I was in high school, which was pretty cool. And then we know that healthy fat helps that tumor cross the blood-brain barrier and helps with absorption as well. So just make
and
sure that, that's why Bulletproof Coffee was with fat in our I mean, he did it because of fasting purposes and keeping us full, but you could also add ghee or a fat to the coffee to help with that absorption.
so would coconut oil be okay?
Yeah, MCT coconut oil would be great.
That's what I do. So I haven't ventured into the pepper. I don't know
Yeah,
how much pepper and what that's going to do to my coffee, but it tastes great. I mean, I barely taste it in the coffee.
that's awesome.
It just gives it a little bit more of a smoothness to it.
Okay.
And we also put a little bit of ground flaxseed when we brew the coffee to give a
Nice.
little bit extra omega-3s, and so that hopefully is supportive as well.
That's awesome.
So,
That's great.
and I'm actually 100 years old, so it seems to be working. Not quite, but I will be 62 in a couple weeks here. So, how does Ayurveda view aging differently than kind of modern Western medicine? I'm sure there's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. Such a beautiful question, really. So, Ayurveda's whole goal is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. The entire lifestyle that Ayurveda teaches is a preventive lifestyle. So, it's a lifestyle that shows you how to age well every single day. The goal is every day you wake up, you align to your circadian rhythm. Nature's clock is the clock. And if we can live in alignment with that clock, our body, every system, every cell can function better, which is part of the aging process. If we're going to defy nature's clock and go against it, all of a sudden that's where we cause dis-ease, inflammation, and all those different problems. Ayurveda also talks about how we eat and when we eat, not just what we eat. The modern day culture is obsessed with food and are you carnivore? Are you vegan? Or are you this? Are you that? Paleo? Like pick a plan. We've most of us have all tried so many of them. But Ayurveda teaches it's actually about how you eat and when you eat. And whatever you are going to eat it with love. Eat it fresh. Don't microwave it and kill it. Like just pay attention to the love you're putting in that food. And that and the blessings you put on the food is actually as important as what it is. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you made it with love, sourced it with love, and it really are doing your best. So I teach everyone, sit down when you're eating. When you're about to eat, don't chug a glass of ice water in a restaurant. Have a hot tea instead. Sip a few sips of it if you're really thirsty because you forgot to hydrate outside of your meals. But Ayurveda teaches don't eat within 30 minutes of your meals before or after. So the Ayurveda toolkit for what you're talking about, which is aging well and having that longevity, is about circadian rhythm alignment, sleeping well, investing in really phenomenal gut health. Gut health is a big key piece of everything I teach. Then we talk about how you eat and when you eat. We talk about the Sattvic diet, which is everything in the world that is made by nature is fine to eat, but make sure it's cooked fresh. Make sure we're really paying attention to that quality. Then I teach about the daily self-care rituals that we can do in a rhythm. And a lot of those self-care rituals are actually detoxing because the world is going to cause some level of toxic burden in the system. And our job is to do a seasonal circadian detox to help cleanse that out and move it along. So little habits like using a tongue scraper or doing oil pulling or hydrating well to make sure you have a daily bowel movement. Simple things really that are pretty free actually, or nearly free, are good at detoxing the body for our longevity and for aging well. And then finally, I teach a lot about how we can fuse all these things together and build a rhythm and lifestyle around it that creates peace and that helps us stay grounded. And then one final big piece, which I should have said first, is our doshas or our elements. We teach that each one of us has an individual constitution. We're either vata, pitta, or kapha. The first one, vata, is air and ether. The middle one, pitta, is fire. The final one is earth with water, kapha. And so each of us, if we take a dosha quiz, we'll see what our constitution is. And then we can navigate all those things that I talked about more on an individual basis, customized to us and our body. And so that's kind of the spectrum of topics from Ayurveda that I like to teach about for our longevity, for prevention, for us to age well, and to stay healthy and vibrant. The goal of Ayurveda is vibrancy. So, we believe in karma. And so I can't control what my destiny is. I don't know if I get to live till 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. But whatever that age may be, my entire focus is my vibrant health. How is my gut-brain axis? How is my level of energy? How's my level of joy? Am I doing the things in my life to have that absolute level of joy and peace that I crave? And when I do, I know that I'm doing everything right in my daily life.
So I've actually been following Ayurveda pretty well without really intending to. I mean, we talk sleep a lot on this podcast, and my most recent doctor's appointment, my cholesterol was high, and they're immediately wanting to put me on statins. And I'm like, nope, not going to do statins. I know my sleep has been disrupted because I've been tracking that for a while. I've been asking, it's taken me a year to get tested for sleep apnea, another week and a half before I actually get my CPAP. But, I'm focused on, get that sleep in order, eating earlier in the day, going more of a circadian fast and getting to bed early, getting good quality sleep, getting that restorative sleep, do my turmeric in the morning, and, just trying to eat the foods that are going to promote that, healthier system, getting my cortisol. I mean, I think cortisol is something that we don't talk about a lot. We'll talk about testosterone therapy and all that for our old farts like myself, but we don't talk about what are you doing to get your cholesterol in order. Yeah. And it sounds like everything that we need to do is there in Ayurveda.
Yes. Yeah, everything is there. And it's just about implementation. It's just about the desire to put that plan in place. Is it easier to take a pill? It controls the number and the blood works fine. Yeah, that's easier. I don't disagree that some things are easier. But in the long run, did you address the root cause? And so Ayurveda is looking for what are your root causes? Where did you get disharmonious with your circadian rhythm, with your constitution, with your lifestyle? And how can we bring you back into the alignment? Because once we do, these numbers should fix themselves. Whenever my blood work comes back like that, I'm like, are you walking enough? Are you moving enough? Are you just sitting in your chair all day, 8 hours a day, and then you pick up the kids and then it's dinner and then you're done? That is a choice. I make that choice very consciously because I'm building my business and I love it. But I also have learned every time it's a pre-interview call, every time it's a phone call, start walking. Every time it's a meeting, walk. We don't have to do everything on Zoom. We have an opportunity to shift things. We can build in a morning walk and an evening walk. So really it's about how are you rebuilding your lifestyle in the natural way to win at these goals.
And we talk a lot on this podcast about inflammaging and that kind of stuff. And inflammation is often considered to be the root of chronic disease. And that's certainly the stance we take on the Aging Well podcast.
Nice.
So how does Ayurveda address inflammation and why is that so important for aging well?
Sure. So Ayurveda looks at inflammation as the cause to our behavior not being right. So it's the symptom, it's the end result of not doing the Ayurveda lifestyle. And so according to Ayurveda lifestyle, we would sleep really well. We would have self-care rituals for bed. We would cut off dinner 3 hours before bed. So a lot of times I teach 7:00 dinner, be complete. Next hour, wrap up your house life, whatever it is you have to get done, and prepare for the next day, unwind, relax, self-care. And so that's actually the start of reversing inflammation is the night before. We think of it so much as what we're going to put in the belly on the day of. And I think of it as, let's start with your evening. If your evening routine can line up to deep sleep, according to the circadian clock from Ayurveda, people think circadian rhythm is a new concept. It's not. It's a 5,000-year-old concept from Ayurveda that says that 10 to 2 on that circadian clock is the most important time to sleep. And that sleep is twice as valuable as the sleep you're going to get after it. Because at 10 to 2 is when the janitors come out in your body and clear out the lymphatic system in your brain, clear out your lymphatic system around your gut, clear out the body, clear out any excess emotions and thoughts and mindsets that we had through the day that didn't serve us, that needed to be cleared out of the system. And so if you don't let the janitor do his job, you're not going to win at your health. And I've noticed that when I travel sometimes, if my sleep is crap, the next day my brain is so foggy. And I'm like, you know what you did? You cut off the janitor's ability to do his job. And this is the price you're going to pay. So you can drop your inflammation. You know how to take a potent turmeric and win at that job. You need to fix this tonight. And so I'll take my own sleep gummies that I developed or my sleep tea. Like for me, sleep is the first step. Then the next day we have opportunities. I think turmeric, of course, since I studied it, is the most powerful way to reduce inflammation. Is everyone on the planet going to benefit the most from turmeric? No. Some people are more ginger people. Some people are more all the other anti-inflammatory foods we know about people. But for me, turmeric has worked for 99% of who I've spoken to. And so I always tell people you can add turmeric into your life 3 times a day and allow its anti-inflammatory effect to support you because life is inflammatory. This life we're living, this cup could be made with lead. I should probably test it because I never know with all the things I buy. I drink out of glass water bottles. I try not to have plastic water bottles. I don't want the microplastic effect. Our cleaning products, our air quality, our water quality, our food quality, our pesticides, right? So there's a whole category called things that will cause trouble in the body. The body has to fight it, and thus we're creating inflammation. And so what I like to do is have a preventive guard in place. So I use a lot of sleep solutions as needed. I try not to use them every day. And then I use a lot of turmeric throughout my day to keep that inflammation down. And then I really do implement an Ayurvedic diet into my life where it's eating on my circadian clock. It's living according to my circadian rhythm. I think one big problem we have nowadays is we push ourselves so hard. You mentioned cortisol, stress hormone. If we're going to be stressed, we're going to be creating inflammation. And so every time a topic comes along that really stresses me out, sometimes it's like politics, world news, any of that stuff, I'll be like, oh my gosh, why do we have to stress everybody out? If the collective is stressed, we're all stressed. If we're all stressed, we're all inflamed. If we're all inflamed, we're all going to create disease. And so really, when people talk about mindfulness and meditation and all those practices, they sound hard to do. But your job is just to find the one you love the most. So for me, walking in nature is the best way to clear my mind, clear my energy. I'm not a good meditator. I'm not a good sit still and think about nothing person because a million thoughts run through. You didn't go to take the kids to the dentist. You didn't, whatever those thoughts are. And so if walking does it for you, walk 3 miles a day in nature and just do your deep breathing and relaxation then. But that is a big part of inflammation. So we can't just take really cool, awesome anti-inflammatories. We have to invest in sleep. Sleep is when you clear that inflammation. That's the janitor's job. Clear inflammation and create all the healing and rejuvenation and regeneration we need. Throughout the day, eat an anti-inflammatory diet based on your current health issues, take the right supplements, and then finally add in the practices to reduce stress and any toxic burdens so that you don't create more inflammation as well.
So don't watch the news.
Don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. It's not worth it.
I don't either. No.
It's just a stress-causing box is how I look at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me.
So you talk about a 72-hour gut reset using Ayurvedic principles. What does that look like and how does it support longevity?
So in Ayurveda, we taught about intermittent fasting. We were pretty gentle about it compared to how we look at it right now. In Ayurvedic fast, you would do 12 to 12, like a 12-hour fast. You'd finish dinner by 7, not really eat before 7. Now you could extend that a bit by 2 to 3 more hours. I don't think Ayurveda would have taught us the 16-8 fast that a lot of people do. I know a lot of people are getting benefits from it, which is fine. But Ayurveda was actually more about moderation and more about being gentle with our system and not being so harsh and setting such harsh boundaries. So a 72-hour gut reset in my mind is whenever your gut is off, because a lot of times people don't understand the level of gut dysbiosis and gut issues they have. I really do wish everyone got a stool test annually in addition to annual blood work and got that report card, because every other year I do a stool test and every time the report card's like, what the heck have you been doing over there? Like, that's what my doctor said to me a few weeks ago. What are you doing? 90% of your gut microbiome is gone. I was like, I don't know. So we investigated and it was mold. And we learned, okay, Shivani had mold in her house. It affected her gut. Now we're going to put a leaky gut protocol in place. So I love fusing modern science with the ancient wisdom, because when you have these diagnostics, they're very black and white and they show you what's going on. From the Ayurveda perspective, earlier than that, we should have been able to recognize the slow symptoms that were accumulating. Did you have brain fog? Brain fog we can tie to gut. Did you have gut disruption? Was your bowel movements off? Oh, that would have indicated a problem. Were you having stomach aches after you ate? Is your body like not able to digest things like it normally does? That indicates a problem. And so anytime your gut is feeling off and you're like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but something is up. I always take 1, 2, or 3 days and just do a gut reset. I take the time to eat very light, easy to digest foods. We have one of those foods in Ayurveda. It's called khichdi. It's just taking split mung beans and rice, put it in a pressure cooker, minimal spices, just like salt, cumin, turmeric, simple. And that dish is like a porridge. It's very easy to digest. So the goal is give the gut a day of rest. For some people, you could probably do a water fast and you're fine. I just did a 3-day water fast. I wouldn't call that easy, but I did it as a huge, almost harsh gut reset, but a full-on reset with Ayurvedic herbal teas and things like that. If the prognosis is big enough, you can go up to that level, which I really needed a gut healing in place. But in Ayurveda, we would have done khichdi 3 times a day, or just nothing hard to digest, no cold foods. It would be something hot. You can do a soup fast all day, eat soup all day. And all of a sudden the gut got a break. It got a chance to not have to deal with roughage and food that's hard to digest, nothing inflammatory. So the top 5 inflammatory foods are gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol. And I add red meat in there, which is not true for everybody, but it's harder to digest. So I always ask everyone, just cut the inflammatory foods, make space in your life, eat something easy to digest all day, and then the next day re-enter nicely. So that's Ayurveda's perspective, is let's give the gut a break sometimes so it can heal itself. The body has everything it needs to heal itself. We just get in the way.
So what are some of the key Ayurvedic herbs and supplements that you recommend for energy, cognitive clarity, joint mobility, and those types of things?
Well, my favorite above all is turmeric. I do think it does the job really well. I've been in the turmeric world for 10 years, working alongside doctors, showing them how effective it can be for chronic joint pain and for their patients. So turmeric first is always my game plan with people. Try this. Now, if you don't get the maximum benefits that you wanted, I actually created 2 turmeric formulas so they can stack those. Now, once we move past turmeric, which I do think is the number one, then we start talking about other super spices. So ginger is really powerful. It's a sister plant to turmeric. So you can take ginger, have ginger tea, ginger lemon tea. You can incorporate more ginger in your food. It's also a good digestive support. It lines the gut. It helps you. Most people take it for nausea, but it's actually very good for gut and inflammation as well. Even other spices like cilantro. We use cilantro a lot in Indian cooking. It's a heavy metal detoxer. So taking that every day and just putting it into your food, we buy coriander seeds and grind them and then use that into almost every dish we cook. So imagine if every day you are getting a gentle heavy metal detox so that heavy metals couldn't accumulate. That would be beneficial. Another one is cumin seeds. So anytime you're going to heat up leftovers, you can take oil, put it in the pan, butter, ghee, anything you use to heat your food, and add cumin seeds and wait till they're kind of dancing in the pan and then put the food on it. And what that's going to do is it's going to remove the the gassy tendencies of that food. So a lot of times we eat old food and then we're like, oh, I don't feel that great. I don't feel energy from it. So what that cumin does is it removes the difficulty of digesting that food. It makes foods easier to digest. So cumin is another one of my favorites. We use cumin seeds at the base of every lentil and bean we cook in the Ayurvedic kitchen. So you're always going to take oil and heat those cumin seeds and then start the cooking process because lentils and beans are hard to digest. Another great one, which is not for cooking, but for taking in supplement form, is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is neurocognitive support. It's an adaptogen. It's kind of the king of all the adaptogens. If you're stressed and anxious, it calms you down a few notches. If you're depressed and feeling low, it lifts you up a few notches. It calms down the mind and calms down the system. So right after turmeric, my next favorite is ashwagandha. So that's why I built that one into two of my teas, an unwind tea and a deep sleep tea. Because I was like, if we could all just unwind a notch, we might not crave a lot of the chocolate or wine or the things we're craving just to help us take life down a few notches. We could just get that from the herb, from the plant itself. So yeah, those are some of my favorites when it comes to the spices of Ayurveda.
So let's kind of go back to the concept of the doshas that you talked about earlier. How does knowing your type help tailor your health choices as we age?
So as we're aging, it's so important to know what your constitution is. On my website at drshivani.com, I have a dosha quiz, and I encourage everyone to take it. Once you take it, it'll fire right back at you an answer. And it's so funny because people will email me and they're like, how did you know all that about me? I'm like, this is ancient wisdom. I just get the honor of teaching it. But if you are a vata person, you are more air and ether. You might be more tall or short than your demographic. You might be thin and wiry, small bones, small frame, long oval face, dry brittle hair. These are some of the characteristics of a vata person. And a vata person is someone who's a busybody. They're always in motion. Imagine like a ceiling fan. They just never stop. And so they have this boundless, beautiful energy. But if it's not channeled right, it leads to insomnia, leads to anxiety, leads to really disrupted gut with constipation and dryness in the system. And so our goal in Ayurveda is to support the vata to be more grounded and feel more whole so that they can finish what they start, so they can use all that energy towards good and creativity and the work that they're desiring without always being caught in cycles of anxiety and stress. Then you have pitta people. And so a pitta person is more medium-bodied, tends to have reddish hair, reddish skin, tends to have early graying, tends to be a very sharp person, ambitious, focused, very passionate person. A pitta person also tends to get hangry. And when imbalanced, they're kind of like a volcano. They just erupt on everyone. They're like a molten mess. They are angry, frustrated, and they take that out on everyone. And pittas tend to run more inflamed because it's all about fire. So they'll have heartburn and a lot of inflammation in the system. And so our job is to keep the pittas cooled down so that they can focus that energy on their passions and on their dreams and what they're creating. And then finally, you have kapha. A kapha person is grounded. This person is like bigger boned, stronger, maybe heavier set. They can lift heavier. They have that constitution of like strength and resilience. This is someone who may have a round face, round eyes, curly, oily hair, rounder features. But this person's also, their nature is like Mother Nature. They're that loyal person, the person who cares about everyone around them and just stoically takes care of everyone. They're that grandmother who nurtures and takes care of everybody and feeds everyone with love. And so kaphas are the sweetest friends. They love everyone around them. Their only drawbacks that they struggle with are slower metabolism. They're very one thing at a time, and society right now wants us to be 200 things at a time for no good reason. So their nature's one thing at a time. And then kaphas just struggle with, once their day is over and they sit down, they're not going to get up off the couch again. They're just not. They can't. It's like Mother Earth sat down for the day. And so my coaching with clients all the time is around, okay, you're a pitta or vata, but you married a kapha. Can you honor the beauty and awesomeness of having a kapha tree, rooted tree energy husband or partner, and accept that everything they do is amazing. And once they sit down, please don't ask them to get up, like show love. And so a lot of my coaching is, this is your constitution. This was your constitution at birth. Let me get you back into alignment so you feel like yourself in your body. And then also let's understand the people around us so we can support our families, so we can support our kids. When people are of other doshas, sometimes we just don't understand them. But if you understood them, you could support them better as well.
Sounds like I got to take that test today.
Yeah, it helps. It does help. Like, for example, I'm married to a kapha man, but he is somewhat pitta. He's like, go, go, go. So if I'm leaving on the weekend to go to a conference, I will feed him and the kids. Like, how about everyone's fed? Then I know there will be peace when I leave. That's my investment in my kids and him. And I can do that with love because I understand the nuance of what's needed in the situation. So that's where I find the dosha quiz so cool.
I'm probably a bit, leans a little bit Gofa.
Yeah, I could sense it meeting you. I was like, he's pretty Kapha, but he's probably somewhat pitta. Makes sense.
Yeah. And that's probably why sometimes I have the inflammation problems and the sleep issues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it can happen.
So you've worked with patients with autoimmune conditions. What natural strategies have you found most effective in managing or reversing some of those symptoms?
It's interesting. I was just working with one member of my team who has an autoimmune condition. And I said, here's the deal. Ayurveda says no matter what disease we create, we can reverse it. And it's interesting being American and living in the United States. Here we're told, oh, you have that? That's for life. And I always look at them like, are you kidding me? You don't think the body can heal from anything? And you don't think food is a part of that equation? And so I'm always like, wow, you are never going to treat me or my family. So goodbye forever. But when it comes to autoimmune, I really look at that as what is happening in the gut and why is the gut revving up the immune system? What are we doing that's put us into this position? And when it comes to autoimmune, my own body has been like an autoimmune body my whole life. That's what I suffered with. Gut issues, felt like I had no immune system, felt like every time someone sneezed, I'd catch a sickness. And so my work has been, how do you consistently honor the gut and build a gut microbiome that's so robust and so healthy? How do you intuitively build a system so that when something is awry, something is off, you're quickly calibrating to it and giving your body what it needs? How do we build nourishment and replenishment into the system? I find that really difficult, actually, because I'm vegetarian. And so for me, it's a job to focus on my supplementation and my food to really hold a body at replenished. And as I age, I'm finding that's even more of a job, like more of a focus than it ever was before. And so autoimmune, I really think of it as your body is battling with itself for a reason. And your job is to go dig until you figure out what that is. Either it's gut, could be trauma, whole nervous system is in a dysregulated state and gear, and you've got to shift that gear back for yourself. Maybe it is you are high cortisol in your life. You're always built to be perfectionist and going 200 miles an hour, and that doesn't serve you. And so how do you build the self-care rhythm from Ayurveda into your life, non-negotiable, so that, yeah, you're going to be pretty intense, but can you also be completely chill at different times of the day so the body can recover and be in the parasympathetic? And that might take work. That might take homework. A lot of my clients are women. And so a lot of times I'm like, hey, this is the new rhythm. They're like, that's weird that I'm putting myself first. And they're like, I have a little Dr. Shivani on my shoulder who reminds me all day, choose me, do self-care. And I'm, yes, then I've won. If that's the way you hear me, perfect. And those are some of the key pieces. Now, can we use super spices for autoimmune? Of course. Anti-inflammatory, gut healing, turmeric, ginger, some of those spices, ashwagandha that I mentioned are all beneficial. But it really starts with all the pieces I mentioned and food. And so one big message I gave to my employee today was, you need to make sure you're cutting all the inflammatory foods out of your life and allowing the gut to heal. And those are those inflammatory foods I mentioned. So really putting yourself on a protocol, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 3 weeks, but cut out the insults to your system to let your body heal itself and get on the right path towards reversing it.
And so how does a more digestive health, gut-brain connection impact our mood, our cognition, and the aging process?
It's a great question. I'm pretty obsessed with brain. It's been an obsession of mine for maybe 10 years. And I've always leaned on my intelligence for doing and creating everything I want. But having kids changed things. All of a sudden, I was like, wait, I only have access to like 60% of my brain. Something changed. Then I got it back through gut healing, building a healthy microbiome, reducing stress, all the things I've talked about so far. And then now perimenopause. Wow. And menopause is coming around the corner. Whole different ballgame when we talk about aging and we look at these huge endocrine brain shifts that happen. And there's so much science coming out right now around that topic. I think her name is Lisa Mosconi, just published a book talking about how menopause is not just menopause and it happens to your uterus. It is an entire system shift, and it's a huge shift to the brain. And so that's where HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and these things are coming online to say, hey, if you want to actually age well, you need to give your body estrogen over the long haul, because the deficit and the lowering of your estrogen will have such a catastrophic effect on a multi-system standpoint. And so when we talk about brain, I think about, are we giving our brains food? Walnuts are brain food. So I try to incorporate a few walnuts every day. Are we incorporating an anti-inflammatory gut diet that's gut supportive? Because the gut-brain axis is 100% connected. I love talking on Alzheimer's summits and things like that, because the level of support spices like turmeric and ginger can give to the brain over the long haul are kind of astounding to me. Because every time I dive into the science, I'm like, wait, I'm forgetting all the names this morning, but there's the glial cells and the microglia, amyloid plaques, tau tangles. Curcumin from turmeric has an effect on all those aspects of the brain. And so I really do look at it as Ayurveda showed us an entire lifestyle that's brain supportive. We should live that beautiful lifestyle, the preventive, healthy lifestyle, circadian rhythm, sleep, all these things we just spoke about. And turmeric can be that much more of a level up and upgrade in our approach to brain health and really preserving that brain health over the long term. As a woman, I really do think about it a lot. Like, brain health is one of my main desires to have. I was telling my employee today, I said, my number one reason for a lot of things I'm doing is for my brain, because I know my brain is what's letting me teach my mission. It's letting me do all this work. Would I like a beautiful, fit body that's muscular at all times? Sure. But if that's not going to be the thing I get to have, and I get to keep my brain firing on all cylinders to get to do my work and live my life at the highest level, I will always choose brain first. And I get there by investing in gut first, because Ayurveda said your gut is every single system. If you can have a healthy, robust, digestive fire, a fire that's strong, that metabolizes everything you eat, that takes every thought, emotion, and consumes it for you, and the residue you're given is what we call ojas, this vitality and energy and vibrancy, then you're doing right. And then when you have moments in your life where a surgery or a trauma or things in life that happen, maybe someone passes, you have grief, you get kind of knocked off your pedestal, and all of a sudden everything goes down. It's okay. You've lost the fire. Let's rekindle it. Let's bring it back up. Get that energy back, get that vitality back. Then you'll have brain online and everything else online. So it's just, Ayurveda is a very different vantage point and viewpoint into health, into preventive health, and into alignment of all systems. Instead of thinking of ourselves as 100 different parts, and if my uterus is useless, you can take that, and my gallbladder is useless, and you can take that. We really look at it as, how do we bring the whole system online at once and then hold and maintain that beautiful lifestyle?
So for someone who's new to Ayurveda, who's intrigued by this approach to aging well, what is one simple place to start today?
One simple place to start that I love is with a copper tongue scraper. And a copper tongue scraper sounds kind of random, but by starting your morning and brushing your teeth and then gently scraping the tongue 7 to 14 times, you're going to ignite your digestive fire. You're going to clear out all the organs of the body from having this toxin residue that forms in all of us. And you're going to taste your food better, which is one big step towards eating better and eating well as well. And that's one of the simple things we can bring online that I love from Ayurveda. That's the first self-care reminder before you start the rest of your day. So I always use my tongue scraper, and then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do for my gut? Oh, I'm going to start my day with warm water. I'm going to have warm water before I caffeinate. Okay, that's my next good thing I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to start my day. I'm going to remember my supplements. Perfect. I'll take my turmeric. I'll do all the good things. And then it goes on from there. So I like to kick off the day with a distinct self-care habit that then leads to all the others I want to do.
Is there a Ayurveda phrase for baby steps?
I don't know it. That's so funny, though. It is baby steps. Ayurveda is all about self-love and vibrancy. And so it's just saying, look, you have the capacity within you to heal anything. You have the capacity within you to have any level of energy and vibrancy you want. It's all up to you. It just comes down to your ability to really tune into yourself, tune into your intuition, and build that lifestyle for yourself.
So you've alluded to some of this already, but in addition to the turmeric, the supplementation, the diet, the sleep, what else are you doing personally to age well?
Good question. I have one habit that I didn't mention that's one of my favorites called tea time is me time. I built this one into the Ayurvedic self-care rituals because at this moment, at about 45 years old, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an author, I have a Hay House book coming out next year, I'm a speaker, and then I try to just stop right there because once I add too many things on the plate, I get really dysregulated. And so I have a beautiful team of women around me who are working so hard to help with my mission to share turmeric with the world. But I also acknowledge that working way too hard and pushing every boundary with my body has a contradictory effect compared to what I get to teach. And it's contradictory for my own body. So every year I look at my seasons and I say, okay, January through May, I'm going to let you work really hard. You're going to focus, you're on your racetrack, but your self-care and diet has to be dialed in. So I have all my systems in place for sleeping well. I have my blackout shades. I have my rhythms for great sleep. I have my supplement drawers ready and organized that show me like, this is your plan for today in order. I have fresh food made in my house 4 days a week, which is really important to me because food is the center of everything. And as a wife, my main job, in my opinion, is feeding these kids great food and my husband. So I make sure the food is organic, fresh. It's not always local. That's a goal I have, is to shop more at the local markets. But implementation of healthy, good food and everyone getting nutrient density and nutrient variety, including me, is a really important key piece to my aging well plan, because if I'm not giving my body the building blocks, then I don't get to have anything I want in my life because I will be running on empty. And then every once in a while, when I go to functional medicine, I get these report cards that are not good. And I'm like, okay, there's work to be done still. That's fine. I know there's always work to be done. I'm living in a place where the food is kind of stripped of its nutrition. So I'm eating well, but I might not be getting everything. So then I usually take the summer season to really recalibrate. I'm a Pitta dosha, I'm a fire. So summer is when it's burning hot in South Florida, and I take that time, and I always travel with my kids, and then I sit down and say, okay, what detox can I do? How can I support my health? What are the new supplements I need to put in place? Where am I going to take these things for 3 months and then test blood work again and see where I got to? So for me, it's very much a planning, systems, do it with love, but also pause, have tea time as me time, and just check in with myself every day. How are you doing today? Everything okay? Is energy on point? Oh, you haven't moved your body yet. Okay, let's go move. So it can be as simple as tuning in to get the most important answers that we need to move forward.
So it's really one of those many practices of mindfulness that we can do on a daily basis.
Exactly. And it can be with coffee, it can be with tea, but it's an opportunity. I can't chug hot tea. I'm going to have to sip it. And so because I have to sip my beverage, I'm actually taking a moment to tune into myself. Could I do it while watching TV and staying distracted? Of course. But I choose 5 times a day to pause and take that moment. And a lot of times my intuition gives me really interesting answers. Like, you forgot to pay for the pool guy, random thoughts. Or it'll be like, you forgot to take your supplements today. The schedule you just made for this week is really bad. You need to change that. You can't do that to yourself. Or you said yes to this and this. Where are you going to have dinner? And so just things like that are really insightful because our own intuition knows the answers. We are just ignoring it. And so that's where I love this habit. So simple, but so effective.
So how can our viewers and listeners connect with you? I know you've mentioned a couple times different websites and things like that.
Sure.
But more important, can you tell us a little bit more about this upcoming book and where our viewers and listeners can find it?
Definitely. So my website is my name, shivanigupta.com. So it's ShivanIGupta.com. And on that website is my dosha quiz. I have a lot of different guides for sleep. I have a 7-day inflammation challenge. Everything is there. And from that site, you can get to my supplement company, fusionaryformulas.com. And I made a special code for your audience. Aging Well will give them 15% off at Fusionary to try out my turmeric.
Well, we'll make sure that people get to that, and we have all those links in the description notes.
Thank you.
Is there anything we missed talking about today? I mean, I'm excited that as we go through this, and we've had several different guests, and I'm going to probably connect some of those. Like Jeremy Rocksmith is a chef who really has incorporated Ayurvedic practices into his cooking and his meditation, his practice, and everything. And it was a really great episode. We had a dentist, and I'm trying to blank on her, Nami Patel, who is a green dentist, and she, incorporates a lot of these same practices. And it's just like, as we go, I tend to distance myself much more from Western medicine, and I'm starting to latch on to just the natural healing from within the body, the things that we can change just through sleep, regular exercise, good diet, maintaining healthy body composition, not smoking, having good relationships, all these things that can really heal us. And in reality, with the exception of maybe some of the foods and the spices, because I've grown up in the United States and I have a much more Western diet, which I need to fix. But in general, a lot of these practices really kind of fall under Ayurvedic practices. And so I'm really kind of excited to have you on today to get this out to our listeners and our viewers, and, just keep diving into it. We'll probably have to have you back on for some more follow-up information.
Awesome.
But I just appreciate what you're doing, and just kind of keep aging well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for summarizing that so beautifully. You're right. So many of us are teaching all these different aspects of aging well and using some of these Ayurvedic principles. And so my mission is just to share, look, this is Ayurveda, and we all have this opportunity, like you said, to just build an amazing lifestyle. And that lifestyle will prevent us most likely from having to go to the doctor. When I go to the doctor, I do appreciate that they have the tools that they have. When I need them, I need them. But if I can sit here and do the work to never have to go, that's also my biggest dream. So it's just about building that beautiful lifestyle to age well. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I'll work on practicing how to pronounce Ayurveda.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast. And until next time, keep aging well.